All right, welcome to the War Room. Thank you all for tuning in. Episode 22. We're going to have a little bit of a change tonight. We wanted Tory to come on and talk a little bit more about our Legends class. That's just not going to happen tonight, but we've got an interesting one in store for you guys. A couple of really good things I wanted to talk about. But just to address our Legends class, our Legends class opens this Friday. Registration opens this Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I know there's some different people in different time zones that are wanting to sign up. So it's this Friday at 6 p.m. We're only taking 60 cars, and it's going to pay $12,000 to win for that 60 cars. And yes, you are running the format. If you don't know what the format is, I want to make sure that you know and you understand that the reason why we run the format is the same reason why you can comfortably come to Ohio, or you can sign up for our show and not have 10 buddies with you, because you only have to compete against 2 people in the heat. And then in the feature, obviously you got to have a couple friends, but you don't need to have as many friends as you would at a normal show. So just rest assured that our format is why you should feel comfortable coming to Ohio and competing. I want to make a point. Our features the last 2 years, okay, and I should have went back 3 years, but I only went back 2. There's only been 2 people that are the same people that made both features. So in the past 2 years, there's only been 2 of the same people make it back-to-back years. That right there should explain enough. You're not going to see the same people in our feature because it's very difficult to get there. You have to beat 2 cars, and that is exactly why you should feel comfortable coming into Ohio. We wanted to address a little bit of that, with rules and whatnot. We get it. Ohio has a stigma, but I'm telling you, this format is exactly why you can come here, why you can build a car to the rules. We're going to have different inspectors from all kinds of, from different states that are coming in here and inspecting that Legends class. So rest assured, you will get a fair shake. For all you guys that haven't been to a Triple D event, we are thrilled to have you and see those names come in on Friday. Remember, we're only taking 60, and there's a lot of hype for it. So without further ado, we're going to get a couple guests come on. We're going to have Tyson Mobley of Under the Table Graphics and Ben Bowersock, a driver and supporter of Triple D. We always like having Ben on here because he makes it fun, and his perspective on things running for us on the other side is something that I greatly value. So love hearing his perspective. Thank you guys for joining.
Yep. Socks here. Love it.
So I'm going to go into this right away. We've got subjectiveness, okay? And I want you guys to think about this. As we progress the sport and we start to clarify things, the sport seems to be more and more of the Wild West than sometimes you think. And when you get into the details, Ben will call me with these one-off questions every now and then, and we'll go deep into the weeds. And I'm telling you right now, if you want to have a podcast, what you got to do is stay off the phone, because you need to have those conversations when they're videotaped, right, for the world. So a couple of our conversations just this week and the past week, Ben, have been about the end of derbies. Okay, the subjectiveness at the end of derbies. Tell me what you're thinking there.
Okay, so we had a show that we went to, and 2 guys were running against this other guy, and 2 or 3 times the promoter went out and said, "Hey, you 2 quit ganging this guy." Of course, they knew each other; they were buddies. So he took the 3rd guy that was getting beat up over to the corner, took the other 2 guys, and made them go head to head and made them hit each other. Now, not only did they have to hit each other, but if it wasn't hard enough, he would throw out whichever one let off. Now, obviously, they didn't want to lose the thing, so they both backed up. And the first hit was weak. And then he goes, "You guys, when are you going to hit? I'm throwing one of you out." So they backed up and they smashed each other for about 3 or 4 hits, and they were damaging hits. And then he said, "Okay, let's go." So what do we do when we get to the end after the whole derby just went through? And now all of a sudden, like we talked, Dustin, now those 2 guys are getting a disadvantage.
Tyson, I'm going to bring you in on this. What do you think? The end of a derby, how should it be called? It sounds like, there is a fine line there between entertainment and as a promoter, making sure you have entertainment and the crowd's on their feet. But changing the rules at the end of a derby on what guys should do, what do you think? There we go. We got you on mute there.
I think it brings in the whole subjective thing. I think you can have one official that could determine that the first two hits were good enough, and another official says, you needed to go 5 to 6 hits before you've brought in the amount of damage that you've teamed up on this other guy. I just lean towards less subjective, less interference from the officials. Now, obviously, if somebody's in danger or something, then yeah, you step in. But I think, I mean, for entertainment value, I agree. Yeah, because the fans are going to, want to see that. But I'm not sure on that one. It's a good topic.
So a couple things here, and I want to dive straight into the weeds on this. So we talked about entertainment, and the reason why we're having these conversations is because our sport is progressing to you have a lot invested. It's not just it's not 1985, it's not 1995 when you could find a car that had everything for $50 and you could go out and compete. You're spending a lot of time, a lot of money, and to compete, to come to this event. Therefore, the rules have kind of got to be clarified or cleaned up. So, Ben, I ask you, when you sign up for a derby, what rules are you signing up for? Like, as far as the playing field, when you get on the track, can you run me through some things that are going through your head? Like, hey, I have to do this or that, or what are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, so my perspective when I seen that, I mean, your first initiative is like, oh yeah, okay, they're ganging that guy. I mean, 2-on-1's what it looks like. The crowd sees it, but then again, when we talked, Dustin, you gave another perspective on it. So if two guys are there, I know two buddies at Derby.
Hey Ben, hold on just a second. I want to cover a couple things before we get there because I think this will help everybody out in following us. So when you came to that derby, let's say a derby that you came to. In the driver's meeting, there's always a driver's meeting, correct?
Okay.
What's usually addressed? Is teaming addressed in that driver's meeting?
Yes and no. I think some guys, so like holding or not holding or pinning and stuff. So that is a big topic. That's why we're on here talking about it. So
exactly. So like in a driver's meeting, it can or cannot be addressed. And if it is addressed, it's usually very subjective, meaning I say to you, and I'll just take the promoter's role, I say to you, you can't team. Well, what does that actually even mean? What does that mean? And I encourage you to anyone watching to chime in too, and we'll pull some of your comments up. But what does that actually mean? And then there's other rules that you have to abide by, right? Like I've seen promoters or heard of promoters saying, well, you got 60 seconds to give a hit, but if you're on the clock and you're trying to start your car and you're a hard hitter, you get a little bit more time. Or if you're a sandbagger, you get a little less time. So those types of things is like when you enter into a competition, I think you should know how things are going to be called, right?
True. That's true. And then like if you're hitting somebody and he's a wounded duck and I hit him too and don't even know him, do they call that teaming too? So it that is way bigger gray area than we actually think it is, unless we discuss it or really define it like you said in the rules. So if the promoter says, hey, here's what I'm not going to put up with, that would be okay. They're not going to put up with that, but not to stop in the middle or the end or something like that and then change the rules in the middle of a derby and then say, I don't like that. Like you said, Tyson, that they're making a decision, and one judge might be like, hey, I like that. That was good enough. And the other one's like, no. So I think there needs to be a one-time defined rule for it, or discuss it in your meeting when you guys have them, or promoters, or everybody.
Yeah, and this is some good stuff. Robbie chimed in here and said, I've been told if you didn't bring a buddy, you better make some. This is kind of the movement that we need to shift. We need to clarify these things, what this actually means. So this kind of goes back to the situation that you brought up. And what Ben brought up is that there was a situation at the end of a derby, and there was two guys, it was 2-on-1. Okay. All three of the cars were making contact according to the rules that were addressed at the beginning of the derby. But then the promoters switched it up at the end and just said, hey, look, this is how you're going to run from now on. So basically, we've ran this entire show, and everybody was under a strict set of rules. And now, once you beat everybody else, we are now going to not reward you because you beat everybody else. We are going to penalize you, and you're going to end this show how we want to end it. And I think just some food for thought here as we kind of digest that a little bit is maybe this is where the sport goes from entertainment or a hobby to a sport. And that's why these types of things need to be clarified. Because, Ben, is it really fair because this has kind of been widely accepted, is it really fair for me to, when you and Tyson get down to the end, for me to start telling you how to drive, or I'm going to take your money, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that?
Yeah, it was a wide open after I seen another perspective side of it. Because, like I said, I thought the idea was a good idea at the time. But, overall, if you stop and think about it, if we stay away from each other the whole time, we don't even know somebody. But yet, let's say I don't even know you, Dustin. You made this comment. I don't know you. And me and Tyson, I don't know really Tyson that well either. So he's down pounding on you in the corner, and I got a kill shot on you. Now I come down and hit you. Is that 2-on-1? Is that teaming? Yeah. Now I always thought, I've been accused of it, but when a wounded duck is down, I always went after the wounded duck. So if you was to come out and say, hey, you two quit hitting that guy, my eyes was, to me, after thinking about it and the way you said that, I don't think it was right for that guy to make them two guys go out there and hit, honestly. Because if they stayed away from each other the whole time, they stayed on that end, the other guy stayed on the other end. Now they're down to the thing. Now we got another set of rules for two guys that make it.
Yeah. So well, we talked about defining teaming and exactly what that is. So I guess first thing we got to do is we got to define teaming, right? So is teaming, when somebody says no teaming, is teaming because me and Ben know each other? Is teaming because we have the same last names? Is it teaming because we have our cars painted the same? And okay, so we got to define that. And then what is teaming? So Ben, is it two bumpers on a car at the same time? Is it trading hits? What is it? Because when I signed up to a derby, according to the rules that I was signed up to and what I heard in the driver's meeting, is my job was to eliminate cars, right? And be the last car running. Why is it? And then this throws another thing in it. When we get a car on the wall or we're beating on a car, the first thing that happens is an official says, back off. I never quite understood that.
Yeah, that's a tough one too. I mean, to me, so I started out pretty small. So this, I've progressed in the last 3 or 4 years, in my opinion. I just run little fairs, run little things. And these are big decisions that are made at these higher shows now that I'm running. And, that's something you got to really think about. How do you say it? Let's see. I mean, you put up on a wall, now get away from him. If I put him on the wall in the first place, I want to kill him. I want to take his tires out. I want to beat him up. Why would I back off? Now, let me ask you a question. Let's just say, for instance, Steve Syop was out there and I decided to go down and hit him. Now, you're telling me if I got lucky enough to put Steve Syop on the wall that I'm going to back off, or Pete Hansen, and say, Pete and them won't come back after me. I go ahead and let him get off the wall. No, I'm if I make the decision I'm going to do that, I'm going for it. I'm going for the kill. So,
But I
yeah.
can pull up in our meetings. We have meetings just like this with our crew that works for Triple D. I could pull up 20 different derbies in which officials, the first time I get a car, not me, but a driver gets a car in a compromised position, the first time that happens, it's the officials waving them off. I don't understand that, man. And like you said, if you get somebody in a compromised position, what name whoever name you want, put it in there. Why would you ever let them out? And then you should know beating on that car, right? Like they have a minute to make a hit. Like I'm pushing them back up in that corner, and then they're bumping the wall, and I'm pushing them back in that corner. It's such an interesting conversation because I don't think anyone has it, right? And for so long, I have seen derbies. I've personally been a part of it in which it's cost me a win at a $5,000 show. This was quite a while ago, in which the ending was dictated. They said, "Oh, nope, you guys are going nose to nose," and it's like, wait a second, like, what are you talking about? This was nowhere in the rules. And drivers, they don't really have they don't have a place to stand on. What are you supposed to do? You're in the heat of the moment. They just told you had to do this. What do you do?
That's why I run for you, Dustin, because it's clearly stated in your rules. Boys, we're not coming out on the track, and we're not helping you. That's pretty plain simple.
So Ben, and I say this, and this always opens me up for criticism to have these types of conversations, because next year or our next show, we could make a mistake and they say, "Oh, see, you didn't call it." Mistakes are made. You know what I'm saying? They're definitely made, but I think these conversations need to happen. So you said something there. What do we tell our drivers, Ben?
Clearly, you guys are on your own. If we walk out on the track and have to help you, you're done. So, and then some guys are saying about the teaming and stuff. It's 2 cars versus 1. There's no, hey, if you draw your buddy or this or that, watch out. You guys got to watch this. Hey, you are on your own. You know that when you walk out onto the track. I am out there against 2 cars. Period. I know that from the get-go.
And Ben's referencing the format that we run there, that you have to do 2 cars. And we tell our guys, clearly, and the reason being is because we've had all these conversations privately and not understood why shows are called differently. I've seen it a number of different times. I've seen it when Bronze get down to the end. I've seen it when Allens get down to the end. I've seen it when, name another, Heinens get down to the end. Like, it's called differently, and they're almost directed on who they need to hit. Like, cars are cars. You should never be punished for making it to the end of the derby. And this is what I said to you, Ben, is like, you beat all of these cars, and now you're punished because you beat all these cars, and that's just it's a shame that it gets reversed. I think Tory's going to hop on here for a second, and we're going to jump into that conversation real quick. I want to make sure I cover that tonight, but this is good stuff.
Yeah, just to tag along with what you guys are saying here, I think there's way too many variables. I agree, Ben, when you're saying, like if just because that opportunity for that kill shot presents itself, now you're dictating the momentum, you're changing the whole environment and the of the outcome of the show. Third and first could be the difference of $5,000 to $10,000 sometimes, and you can't have that. We've got to get better at that, and we got to get an answer to stricter rules on how things play out.
But why would a promoter even want that responsibility on him? That's what I don't get from it. They say, hey, they may not think of it at the moment, but everybody else knows, hey, they just made a decision for everybody.
Yeah, because you're ultimately going to be playing in the court of public opinion. If the crowd's booing and whatever, and that's influencing the promoter to say, hey, our fans are getting angry here. Well, if it's already been outlined, like, look, you're not allowed to do that. We're not coming out here and helping you do it. You're on your own. Well, then, that everybody already knows. And you're not breaking the momentum of the driver by stopping it and saying, hey, you guys need to separate, or hey, because you're changing so many variations of the outcome that way.
And we have to deal with a lot of this stuff, and I get so frustrated when I hear like people favor this guy, or they don't stick to the rules, or they play favoritism, or this and that. And it's like, damn it, like, we don't play that. Like, we have a whole format for that. Like, it never fails. Every post that we make, there's somebody that comments on there, just, oh, it's going to be a 3-hour feature, this and that. And it's like, the reason why all this exists is, well, because there has been favoritism, right? Like, if you all automatically are at the end or just changing the rules of a derby, well, that is favoritism. That is a problem for the drivers. No wonder why we deal with that, because they've been conditioned, to accept that, or at least that's the way it's going to be. And nobody's even talking about it. Again, we're not going to be perfect in all of our calls either, but we want it to be clear that our drivers are competing, in this set of rules, not only on the paper when you go through inspection, but also, on the track. And that's what it separates us. It separates us from other promoters. I'm getting text here. So Tory's going to be joining us here in just a second. That's why I'm texting. So sorry about that. Threw me off. But last year, we had a situation in which it got down to 2 Allens and JT Hildebrand. And it was, I went on the radio and I clearly said, there's 3 cars out there. There's not 2 brothers and JT. There's 3 cars out there. And those 3 cars are competing under the assumption that they have to make a hit every 60 seconds. Now, there is a limit to that, right? But we're not going to punish Allens at the end of a derby because they beat everybody else, and say, well, we're going to take this win away from you. You don't deserve this win. JT, he did what he needed to do because he realized at that point he was up against the odds. Guess what he was in, Ben? He was in the format, right? He was in the format, and he drew 2 opposing competitors. And I'll be damned if he didn't come out on top because his mentality changed. And I do think that we have to have these conversations because it's more of an education piece, like, hey, to get you thinking right when you're in that situation. Because, Ben, it's really easy to throw your hands up if you're JT last year and say, oh, I can't win.
Yeah, this is exactly what changed my mind on when I told you. I thought, hey, like you said, Tyson, the crowd was behind them because they did that with them 2 cars. But when you explained that to me right there, that's what opened my eyes up and thought, hey, there's another side to this. Those 2 boys went through the format. They weren't the same heat together. They were in separates. And just because they make the feature, and then here's what I got to say about the feature and stuff too is, once you get in the feature, don't want to compare it to anybody else's, but we just eliminated all the teaming clear up until the feature with your format. There they are. They stayed away from each other the whole time, right? They weren't over each one of them banging on 2 cars. They did their thing. He did his thing. And then that was the greatest thing that I've ever heard. You just said, hey, it's not 2 Allen boys and JT. It's 3 drivers, which is actually correct. You didn't take anything away from the other 2 boys, and I actually respect you for that because that changed my attitude for thinking that. I didn't even think of it that way. But does the crowd, and that's what this podcast stuff's for, the crowd doesn't get that. That's what educational. And once you hear that side of it, it is true. You shouldn't take something away from them 2 boys for getting there. They worked through the ranks.
No, and the only people that say that you should take it away from those people are probably, people that are haters of them, right? And it isn't them. It's anyone, right? It's those.
Oh yeah. Anybody.
It's anybody. I mean, so dude, we have to have these conversations, and we got to have them publicly, and people got to understand this. Like, these are all the reasons why the format exists and why it solves a lot of things. Because still to this day, I get people, I mentioned it earlier, people commenting on there. It's like, man, we run the format. How do we get that out to everyone? Is there like some key I need to press to get this out to everyone for them to understand this? We're getting there, but man, we're not quite there yet.
Well, everybody's wanting you to be perfect too. I mean, you're not perfect. You guys are not perfect. You never will be. You'll never satisfy everybody. Sorry, Tyson. I didn't mean to cut you off.
You're fine. I just want to bring up the fact that I think it was Devin that went through the Conti as well, wasn't it? So not only did he lost in his heat, but then he went to the Conti, survived that. I think he went against 6. So won that war of 6, and then gets all the way down to the top 3, and then through all that, you go in there and you stop him, and so like it's not even that he just beat 2 people. That would have been, a game change. I mean, it would have shifted the whole momentum of everything. And obviously, he let JT play it out, and he was able to handle it. And so,
and that goes for everything. We cannot change the rules in which these guys are playing on throughout the Derby. If it's a minute to make a hit, it's a minute, right? I don't know how many times I've seen at the end of shows that it's lasted longer than a minute. Heck, I think 2 years ago or 3 years ago at the first King of Ohio, it came down to Corey Roman and Trace, and it lasted a little longer than a minute there, and we give like a minute 15 max, right? That's what we say in our drivers meeting. So you can expect a minute 15 max, and the reason being is because a clock doesn't start as soon as you make a hit ever, and there's always a little bit of a delay, right? That went a little long, and it's just unacceptable because it didn't change the outcome of that Derby, but we don't want those types of things to change it. And without mentioning any other shows or any of that, because I don't want to get in here, and that's why I just referenced my show a bunch, and things that we can get better at and all that stuff, is like there's a lot of derbies out there where like it's just thrown at the wall. I mean, shit's just thrown at the wall. They're going to call it on the fly. It's how it's going to be, and it's just unacceptable, I think. And we've got to do better, and we've got to hold our sport better. Are more accountable, and promoters, at least on our end, that's what we can do, in my opinion. Do we owe that to you, Ben?
Yeah, and then too, we talked a little bit. Remember the 2 cars that got stuck? It was a pretty big payout, and you asked me, hey, what I think of that end. First of all, did that guy even know that he didn't make the last hit? But I think you guys communicate that well with us. The mutual contact. Both of you made the hit, so you both are open. Hey, you are down.
Let me ask you this, Ben. Not to cut you off, but mutual contact. Have you even heard of mutual contact before our show?
Probably not addressed in that sense. No. Honestly.
Do you understand?
Because I don't think a lot of them even know what that even is. You want the truth? I bet if you said that to the 3 promoters. I didn't hear you. You're cutting out.
Do you understand what mutual contact is?
It's 2 cars making contact at the same time.
Exactly. So somebody's got to go on the clock, right? Or as an official, you have to determine that both cars engaged in the contact. Not that one was going faster than the other. Not that, this guy, he hit with this side of his car and not that side of his car. If both cars, because this is what we ask you, right? We ask you to make contact every 60 seconds. There isn't a stipulation in there in which it says, well, if the car I make contact with is actually going subjectively faster than me, then he gets the credit, right? Like that doesn't even make any sense.
Yeah, if Tyson's driving backwards, I'm driving forwards, we get stuck, I win because I was going forwards.
Yeah, like where's that at in the rules, right? Like I don't quite understand that. So with that said, the mutual contact is a thing, right? And we have addressed that at our show. Like, there is mutual contact. And you mentioned another thing is there's a lot of promoters that don't communicate to the drivers on the track, and you have to communicate. You have to get them to understand, if are they on the clock? Is their clock or their shot clock reset? Where are they at, right? Because it matters how you drive, right, Ben?
Yeah, I mean, a few shows I've been to, guys will, this is our, you're on the clock. I don't know if you can see that or not. We know time. You're on the clock. That means you're getting close, right? I mean, so I've actually looked up and looked at the official and be like, hey, and they'll give me the thumb up, like you're good, like new shot clock, reset. Because I mean, like you get down to the end of the Derby, everybody wants this kill shots and stuff, but sometimes you got to play a game. And if my car's just about dead, I don't, I have lost a Derby because the officials made me run down and hit a car that was dead. 2 cars were stuck on the end. I backed her clear up the other track and I drove them. I made one big hit. Crowd was cheering. I backed up. I really didn't want to tear my car up. So when I went back down, they told me to hit him again. When I went down, tore my radiator up, tore my front core support up, and the guy was done anyhow. So if I knew that I made the last hit and was done, I probably wouldn't have done that second kill shot and tore my stuff up.
100%. And a little communication goes a long way. Hey, Tory's in here, so I'm gonna have Tory jump in. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you.
Yep, I'm getting off.
All right, sounds good. The man.
Wow, they ditched me, huh? They didn't want to stick around when I came in, huh?
No, the big dog came in. Everybody disappeared. Thanks for joining, man.
No problem. How's it going, Dustin?
Good. Sorry about last week. I looked down the road and a car hit a telephone pole right down the road. So imagine.
Yeah,
that.
Of course somebody derbied while we were talking about Derby.
Yeah, I'm like, it was a crazy 5 minutes because I knew I needed to log in and sign off here and let you know what was happening. And then my kids just instantly freaked out because it went dark, right? And I'm like, oh man, this is crazy. So sorry about that, and sorry for everyone that tuned in. I know we're getting into some really good stuff, and I want to get back to that.
All right, let's get at it.
So we were talking about stigma of Ohio. Listen, entries open on Friday at 6. You saw the payouts. We're going to pay $12,000 to win in that class on 60 cars. There's a stigma with Ohio. Tory, tell me what that stigma is.
I know a lot of guys that went out there and learned that you guys like to weld way too much and a little more creative than I guess the rest of the nation is. Ohio is kind of a mecca for demolition derby, and you guys live and breathe it more than anybody else in the U.S. And so guys have just figured out over the years, when you go to Ohio, just plan on having hard cars and nothing but super hard cars. So, and a lot of ganging and a lot of, they don't like outsiders. You guys, defend your turf, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it definitely has been a stigmatism that Ohio's carried with it.
Yeah, and we got to overcome that. And I knew that starting this promotion company and trying to appeal to the outside world, that was going to be a problem. And this is exactly why the format exists. Guys should feel comfortable coming into Ohio because they don't have to compete against 10 of Ohio's best. They got to beat maybe 2 because there's other people from other states, 2 max in a heat, and then they're in the feature. And I want to rest assured that these guys can feel comfortable coming into Ohio because that's the format we run.
And you're allowing me to bring a couple of my guys in from the old team and some people from out of state and all over, Wisconsin, Illinois. You never know who you're going to end up with for inspectors, and maybe some guys from Indiana or whatever. We're going to get a good mix and make sure that these cars are all legit.
So that's a question I was asked too. Like, hey, I was asked, hey, are you going to have, who's inspecting, obviously all that. And we've talked about that. We are going to have some outside people come in. Tory's going to reach out, grab some different people from different states. They're going to come in. They're going to inspect this class. It's going to be a fair class from inspection to on the track. we were just talking about some on the track stuff before you got on. It's very clear how we call the track, and the track is we don't help anyone under any circumstance. So these guys, whoever's coming to show up, are signing up on Friday and coming to show up in June. You can expect to compete. If you're the best man that day, we'll see you in the feature, and we may see you in victory lane.
Well, most of the legends that I know that used to run my shows, they never looked at the officials anyways for any help. They wouldn't make eye contact with the officials. So you're safe. They won't be looking for you.
Oh yeah, I know that trick, right? I never seen you.
Who? Where?
It is going to be important that they do pay attention to us, and we'll discuss that in our drivers meeting. But we communicate back and forth. We let them know in our format something that we necessarily haven't talked about, but there's a thing of mutual contact, Tory. And in our format, one car has to, usually one car gets credit for the contact, and one car goes on the clock, or maybe neither one of them go on the clock. But communicating that to the drivers is important in the format because it's going to dictate what I do next, right? If I got contact. So we need these drivers to look at us because, we'll say this is mutual contact and they understand that, hey, both are on the clock. So if it goes for 3 minutes, right, and no one's made contact, because it could happen at the end of this, you're down to the final 3. It's very difficult to call an ending of a show. So you're down to the final 3. It could happen. We're waiting for that next legit contact in order to call
it. Right. You got to engage your enemy, stay active in the battle. I seen some guys, playing hide. Oh, you can't hit me. No, keep engaged. I hate that, cat and mouse crap, I guess.
I wish there was an answer to that, like a good answer to the cat and mouse. Yeah. That is something that we do get within the format is a little bit of hit, the hide and run or the hit and hide. And I wish we could negate that a little bit. It hasn't really been a problem, but I know what you're saying.
Right.
I guess it's the gamesmanship, right?
Yeah, it's part of the sport. It is what it is.
They're always going to find a way to game the system.
It's like the last guy was talking about, the official encourage them to go hit. They want the show, and I'll always encourage them to go make that hit and hope he would do the, disable the car. But I didn't see too much of that at your show. I don't think we'll have to worry about it.
No, we're not. No, we're not. But I wanted to address the stigma of coming into Ohio. I haven't been asked any questions on it. There hasn't been too many people worried about it. I don't know if you've fielded any questions on that, but I personally haven't.
No, I think it's going to be great.
Okay. Well, that's good. The next thing, man, I wanted to get into is we were talking about these rules and we were trying to go old school, and we were talking about what old school rules are. And we got hung up on one thing, man, fix-it plates. Tell me about this old school mentality and no fix-it plates.
I think fix-it plates are one of the mistakes that I made, and definitely in a stock show, they just really don't have any place for it. Guys can get creative with number 9 wire. They can get creative with other fixes, and that's not to say that you're never going to do fix-it plates, but fix-it plates are something that are only earned through performance. It's not just going to be given, here's your plates, put 4 on here and 6 on later after on and 24 later. And these cars are just getting ridiculous. Everybody's complaining about 2-3 hour features. You don't have that problem, but we never had a problem. We have long enough features as it is these days without adding fix-it plates to it. I just think they're bad. I regret ever allowing them at my shows.
And I appreciate those words of wisdom, because it was something that it was an era I never grew up in. That particular time when fix-it plates weren't a thing. I've only grown up with fix-it plates. I mean, in the rules, I'm writing the rules, and I told you I already had fix-it plates in there. I call you, and you're just like, no, absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
I just like, I can't I can't fathom going to a show and not getting fix-it plates after the heat. And you assured me that, look, man, for a long, long time, okay, there wasn't even a thing of fix-it plates.
No, they would have to stitch their broken frames back together with number 9 wire. Sometimes, if it was like catastrophically broken, we would let them chop a piece out of their back frame that was up in the air, anyways, and they could put a patch on the front. But if like their door skin was destroyed, they had to cut it out of their trunk or out of the back of their roof, or they had to take the metal out of the car somewhere else. It wasn't here. Add a bunch of steel to your car. It's if you want to fix something, you're gonna have to take something else out, chop your back bumper off, use metal that you didn't use from anywhere else. And the only thing we allowed you to weld was the bumpers that you were allowed to weld on, cage material or something like that for safety. And like I told you, if you needed to patch some sheet metal on your door, you had to cut it out of your trunk or your hood or somewhere else in the car. So people really didn't want to do a lot of that. Limits how much you can do to the car, and it really makes guys drive.
Exactly. And the name of the game is always to beat on tires anyways, right? You got to
Exactly.
knock the tires off. In this particular rule set, I mean, you can junk a car too, for sure. And I'm really excited. I've heard nothing but good things and nothing but good feedback. So I am thrilled to see what kind of names come in on Friday.
Me too. And you're only allowing 60, so I think there's some guys that are going to jump all over that for 12 grand to win, and old school rules and old school everything. It's going to be great.
Yeah, we went back and forth on that payout a little bit. I thought 12 grand. I thought that fit right in line with that class. We're already obviously there's a potential to pay 50 in the other class. So if you want to really run for big money, that there's the king class. And if you want a stalker build, it's still going to pay really good money. I mean, $12,000 is nothing to shake a stick at.
Now, when this class outperforms your other class in track performance and just showmanship and everything else, and then we're going to talk next year about what your rules will be for the king, not all them hard cards, Ohio style crap.
Oh man, I hope it does, and I hope that we have to come on here and face it. And people say, but I'm telling you, I think you'll be really impressed by the king cars.
Oh no, the builds always impressed me without a doubt.
Yeah, and I think it's half the battle is if we could ever get these guys to post pictures prior. This is the UFC, man. This is what we're creating. We're creating the UFC. Half of the buildup is the hype, and you're as guilty as anybody else. You started the Tory Schutte racing team. What people wanted to see that stuff, didn't they?
Yeah, I just wanted to put some pictures up because we had cool cars and cool pictures and wagons all bent to craziness, and there was like only a few websites out that had just junk cars. So I was stationed in the military in Hawaii and threw a website up, and it kind of went from there and turned into We Crash, turned into Derby Icons, turned into Legends class with Dustin Woods.
Let's talk a little bit about that, man. The We Crash days. So walk me through how this all got started. I remember being a kid. That was like the Facebook of Demolition Derby. You are the man behind that. Walk me through it.
So a long time ago on my demo.shooty.com website, there was GeoCities guest book, and I put up a classified ads on there and turned it into, instead of signing in and saying, hey, loved your webpage, you could say, I got a 76 Chevy wagon for sale, $500. And I was actually buying them off of there for $250 and $350 at the time. Pontiacs, if they had a motor, I could get them for $350 from Dave Bryan and Monty Staub out in Nebraska. So that was the first time that somebody put a Demolition Derby classifieds up. And then another Derby Pro came around, and they folded up because they tried to charge everybody money. And so I started We Crash just to provide another place for promoters to promote their events, people to find their cars, tips to build the cars, everything else. And it's still out there. The We Crash forum is still up there, and you can go there and read all the old tips and find wiring diagrams and the whole works up there. It's it's a nice place to archive all that information. Quite a few people still are over there and active and refuse to go to Facebook or anything else. I can't blame them. I kind of miss the days where it was all We Crash.
So there's a couple different things I want to say about that. Is there are the good things that We Crash brought, right? There's always naysayers to everything. So they say, well, Demolition Derby was great before We Crash, and everyone gave out all the secrets. Have you heard that before?
Yeah, but I was giving them out on my website anyways. And you know what? We still won our local show every year because at the end of the day, people are too lazy to do all the stuff that you tell them to do. And the people that do everything you need to do on a Demolition Derby car are the guys that win.
Well, as they say, or as the quote says, like, you can copy anything that you want of mine, but because you didn't create it, you don't quite understand it as well as I do. So when there's a problem that happens, you're not going to be able to fix it. And that issue in Demolition Derby is driving. We can have identical cars, but if I can't drive, Tori, you're going to beat me every time.
And Bob Whitaker will beat both of us in a wheelbarrow and a Briggs and Stratton.
Every time, I mean, the guy just finds a way there's a term, the wheelman, right? That's really interesting. I pulled this up right now. There are people active on it. I mean, I see recent posts.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's a lot of guys on there all the time.
This used to be where you found national big money events. This is where all that started.
Yeah. You couldn't promote without being on We Crash.
Was this ran solely by you, or was there? Don't I remember there being like different people that can?
I had tons of people moderating for me. I mean, for a while in the Derby world, you knew people by your We Crash name. You didn't even know their real name. Most of them, unless you do Derby local with them. But I had a lot of moderators that helped me forever and still do. They're still helping me over there. So I definitely did do it by myself. But at one point, I sold it to Sam Williams. He wanted to make the new Facebook of Demolition Derby and be able to do more videos. And he had a whole, app that he was trying to develop. And kudos to him. So I sold it to him, bought it back. But when I bought it back, I incorporated Mark Klein with Derby Tees and Brian Narrett with Narrett Shafts. So it's a third-way partnership with those guys. And just to keep it all Derby guys that all are always going to be, vested interest in this sport and guys that have been around forever and love the sport as much as me. So I was happy to bring those guys on board, and that's the way it's run and support itself through t-shirt sales. So go to WeCrash.com, get your t-shirt from Mark Klein. Appreciate your support.
That was a great sales pitch there. Hey, hold on. I got my little boy. Hold on. I had to ask him to go watch TV for a second. Sorry about that. But yeah, man, that's cool. That's cool. That's cool that it exists still. That you did sell it, bought it back, and that brings me into the NDDA. So the National Demolition Derby Drivers Association?
For the We Crash?
No. What did you create? You create not the.
I just created the Demolition Derby Drivers Association.
Yeah,
the Triple DA.
Yeah, Triple DA. Yeah, that's what it was. I had that wrong. There was another organization, right? That was created. That was that. So
I believe so.
I want to talk about why did you create that?
At the time, there wasn't much accountability in our sport. There was a lot of shady promoters. Not saying we don't have that problem now. But there was a lot of county fairs taking advantage of people, holding shows with just zero accountability, zero payouts, you name it. And after setting up that forum or the guest book for people to use as a classified ads, I saw what a community it could create. And so I created it just to give everybody a place to advertise, bring everybody together. And it made our Demolition Derby community tighter nationwide than a lot of other sports will ever be.
So you were kind of at the forefront of a sanctioning body type.
That was the original reason, was to try to get some type of standardized rules in the sport. And that's why we started Wheatgrass, and we always were aiming for that. And when you ask me about rules, can we use these rules? Derby icons and anything I've ever been part of has always been use our rules, use them any way you can. The more people run them, the more standardized they are. And you'll find verbiage in some of our original rules and almost every set of rules around the nation today. Verbiage that I put down, me and Dave Guard put down over the years.
So why do you think we haven't been able to establish a true sanctioning body? I really wanted to get your thoughts on this.
Because you have a lot of promoters that all want to appease their little local drivers. It's a little rice bowl. They want to keep their little rice bowl, a little pocket of people that they have that they want. You'll get some people that, won't even believe in moving gas tanks, and then other people that, won't run without down legs to their frame. And there's a wide variety of people, and there's plenty of classes for it. But we should be able to come up with 3 classes nationwide that everybody can agree on: a bone stock, a semi stock, and then just a full weld. And then anything above that's just outlaws, But you should be able to have 3 main classes, but you can't even get anybody to really agree to that. It's pathetic, but I've been in meetings with promoters nationwide and trying to cut deals for Hollywood, and you couldn't even get 6 promoters to all go, okay, we'll run that set of rules. The only reason they agreed to run our rules is because Dave had already taken 1,000 phone calls and none of them wanted to take them all again. So,
long before I've been beating my head against the wall for about 4 years on this exact subject, and you guys were doing it long before that. And
yeah, I literally beat my head into the wall and gave up and did it again and again and again.
Yeah, you just giving up's not really in our blood, but man, to get a group of people on the same page, going the same direction, understanding that there's a bigger picture here, and that collectively, if we move together, is the only way that we can get anything done. Is you would think it's not that hard. It's very difficult.
Oh, impossible. And then you go to Utah or California or go to the East Coast, and they'd be like, you might get one state or a little pocket around, the Midwest or something all to agree. But yeah, then you'd go 5 hours away and nobody'd be like, what are you doing? No way. You move the gas tank. There's bars in this car. Wow.
Yeah, it's very easy to get caught up on all the little things. Oh, how are you going to enforce inspections, all this stuff. But, I have long sat here and just beat the drum that there is enough money in Demolition Derby to make our sport healthy. We just choose to not keep the money in our sport. There's nothing that is the umbrella that encompasses everything to say we're going to be better next year than we were this year because we have these resources tailored into bettering the sport, right? Like we've never been able to do that. It's even a promoter at the top of the game, even in your prime, okay, you can't do it alone, not across the nation.
No, it's too huge. And I even, I'm pretty proud to say I've got some of my guys out there that, not some, I mean, there's a lot of them. Jeff Palmer, Toast, Tixie. There's a lot of guys that worked with me or under me and are going on to become their own promoters in their own way. And I mean, that's the best way I figured out to duplicate what I did was to train guys up and send them on their way. And I think they've done a great job promoting on their own. I hope they learned something from me or what not to do, maybe.
You always learn something. And the reason why those guys have their own promotion is because they did learn, they did understand how to be successful. Hopefully I'm in these conversations now, and hopefully we can keep progressing, the sport, and you jumping back in this. Hopefully, just seeing your face and hearing that familiar voice is can help stir this back up too. I've heard a lot of things about that, and Tory, it wasn't really that hard to come get you to help us out. You've told me for from the very first time I talked to you, it was like 4 years ago, 5 years ago, 6, whatever it was, that it was prior to me promoting. And you probably had no idea who I was. And you listened to what I had to say, which was really cool at that point. And since then, obviously, we've went on to establish our own promotion and whatnot. But um, it wasn't that hard to get you on board. And
No,
I appreciate
pretty easy to get me to come to a demolition derby.
No, and I appreciate that, and I hope that the guys that are listening to this, that understand, that want to do a throwback type of class or support any other class in the show, they realize what we're doing, why we're doing it, and everything you put into these last 20, 25 years, maybe 30 years of demolition derby, and why tomorrow it's going to be better than it is today.
Oh yeah, I love some of the stuff you guys are doing and innovation beyond what I ever thought of possible in our sport. But it's nice to go back and go old school and see what we end up with.
Dude, I love this old school class. I absolutely cannot wait to see who that pulls. I mean, I had a conversation the other day from a guy in Wisconsin that said a couple of his buddies are coming and they're running the King class too. And then I had a conversation in Ohio, said like 10 guys are coming out of retirement for it. Now you're a promoter, so you'll believe it when the entries come in, but the fact that we're tugging on those strings is pretty cool.
Oh yeah, I've gotten my phone's lit up from Canada to Kansas, I'll say.
Well, that's awesome, man. I appreciate you coming on again.
No problem. It was good talking with you again. I'm excited to be part of another promotion. I offer anybody my assistance in any way I can to help promote this sport, take it to the next level, like you said, and really do something with what we got going and get the ball rolling and work together, get some other promoters to come on board just to be part of whatever you got going. And hopefully if it starts in Ohio, it'll branch out from there and do a king of Illinois and a king of Michigan and a king of Wisconsin and then the king of the U.S. and King Kong. I don't know. Let's go.
Now you're talking. We'll get there. We got ideas of how to do all that. But we get this show's just getting off the ground. It's taken 3 years to really get it to where it's at. Next year, last year in 2023 we had a really awesome year. It was just the environment was great, and we can't wait for next year. Look, we're selling out our classes, so we haven't sold out our classes before, and I don't know of any other promoter really in the nation that I obviously there's some here and there, but selling out classes is really cool. And if we could sell this entire show out, I'm telling you right now, it's going to be awesome. So we got to bring that party back from Metal Mayhem. People love the party, Tory. So we got to get that party back.
Oh, I might be able to throw a party or two, or I remember how to. I can't wait. It's going to be a blast. I hope a lot of people come out, bring their campers, and make a long weekend of it. And what was the date on this show again? Shoot me them dates.
Yeah, I got a couple people asking too. So this is June 14th, 15th, and 16th. That's Father's Day weekend of 2024.
What a perfect weekend to do that. Father's Day weekend. That reminds me of another show we used to have on Father's Day. That's perfect.
So real quick, I don't want to get on that. Let me finish that, and I'll talk about the other. So it's June 14th, 15th, and 16th, and it's going to be a 3-day show where we've got 7 different classes. We have some individual stuff. We're running the format, and we're only taking 60 cars. This is a pre-register show, so when it fills at 60, hey, it is what it is. That's what we're taking. Registration opens on our website. You'll go to our website. You'll find a button on there that says, hey, driver registration. You'll click on that. That'll take you to Ticket Spice. You'll be able to buy your entry there. You'll have camping available. There will be no general admission available yet because we're going to do like a sale here coming Black Friday or whatever, an online sale for general admission. but you can expect tickets to be 75 to $100 for the weekend, that 3-day pass. And obviously children are cheaper, and there's camping options available. If you are registering, don't worry about a hotel. There's like 7 or 8 hotels like right there. Okay. You're not going to have trouble with a hotel room. And we have a really good relationship with Howard Johnson, who we've worked with in the past. They have a huge hotel. They'll give you a discount. So just worry about getting your entry come Friday at 6. And we appreciate that. So thank you guys for tuning in. Tory, getting back to what you said there. We had our show on July 4th weekend, the first weekend. And it was it wasn't great. Okay, we'll just put it that way. As far as attendance, and everyone was like, "Oh man, it's July 4th weekend," and I was like, "Man, you got to have a holiday weekend to have a 3-day show, you know, blah 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 blah." And then I got thinking, wait, this big show in the past was always on Father's Day weekend. Why can't it be on Father's Day weekend?
Yeah, what a better weekend to go to a demolition derby. They can't tell you no, it's Father's Day weekend.
Exactly. So you're actually, and what you've done in the sport, I look back at that and said, well, I mean, hell, it was successful then. Why can't it be successful now?
Yeah, I always thought it was perfect on Father's Day weekend. I would hold the derby. I always like to stay off of Labor Day and Memorial Days and 4th of July. I always had too many other people and too many other traditions, I should say, that people had always done, and too much competition on those big weekends. But Father's Day is not really a weekend where there's a ton of stuff ever done. It's the most I think, what is it, the most collect calls are on Father's Day. So it's just a good weekend.
Tyson chimed in on the party in the barn nightly. We're going to try to do something with we have access. It's an awesome facility, has a lot of barns. We're going to have like some type of party in the barn nightly. So for everybody,
Sounds good. I might have to bring my speakers and DJ one night.
There you go. Yeah, we're going to have a good time, man. So I appreciate, you coming on board. I appreciate you helping me kick this thing off, man. And it's going to be fun.
I'm excited to be part of it, Dustin. I think it's going to be really fun. I'm even more excited now it's on Father's Day weekend.
Well, I appreciate it, man. Thanks everybody for tuning in. I'll get this episode up on our YouTube channel and on Spotify. So thank you.
Have a good one. Good night, all. Bye.